Hello, mixtresses and mixters. This is mixtressrae. You're watching Mixtress video. So we're doing an ultra mega analog collage unfair comparisons today between Voyager Tarot, Jumbledance, Telezma, and Ritual. Huge thank you to my friends who gifted me these two. I've only had this one for about 24 hours, and I've had this one for a few months. So I've got them arranged in chronological order. These two came out around the same time, Telezma and Ritual, so I am not entirely sure about, like, did they come out? I think they came out within a year of each other, I think. But Voyager came out in the 80s, I believe 84. I'm not mistaken. Jumbledance 98, just recently re-released. Telezma and Ritual both came out 2022 or 2021. Okay, a few notes to start with. This video is for two different types of people. Someone that just enjoys my videos and my personality for whatever fucking reason and wants to watch this video. This video is for you. This video is also for anyone that is considering buying any of these decks for themselves. This video is not for the creators of these decks. I'm going to keep my commentary my intention is to keep my commentary on minimal throughout this video, but I can't always control my mouth. So I do want to go over prices. These are prices in US dollars as of the time that I'm taping this, which is May 3rd, 2023. Voyager Tarot, I was able to find, it looks like it's just used copies right now, so I don't know if it's technically out of print, but if it is, this one has been pretty consistently in print since the 80s. So if it's currently out of print, it's probably coming back. But I was able to find a copy for $18 on Amazon. Jumbledance is sold on Etsy and eBay. Same price, both places. I believe it's the artist that is selling the deck. In both places. I got it on eBay for $37 plus $5 shipping. So both of these, Voyager and Jumbledance, are very affordable. These two on the right are less affordable. $75 for Telezma Tarot on Etsy and $95 for Ritual Tarot on Etsy. Tara Cochran, who made Telezma, does pretty frequently have sales, so if you favorite it, stick around for a second, you'll probably get a 13% off sale show up eventually, but still pricey. Like, you could buy both of these decks for less than this deck. You could buy both of these decks, Voyager and Telezma, for the price of Ritual. Okay, I want to do some other just basic comparisons before I start flipping through the cards. I'm going to try to remember to put a time stamp if you want to just skip to the flip through. I say after 4 minutes of talking. So I went over price. The other thing that I want to go over is cardstock quality. Voyager, Jumbledance, and Ritual Tarot are very shuffleable. Telezma is difficult to shuffle, both because of the size. Just to give you card size comparison for everybody. Like, these are all slightly bigger than, so Voyager is about 3/4 of an inch wider and about 1/2 of an inch taller than a standard tarot card. Jumbledance is about 1/4 of an inch wider and 1/2 an inch taller than a standard tarot card. Telezma is like a full, almost an inch taller and maybe 1/2 an inch. I'm just eyeballing this, so this is little estimates, right? And Ritual is just a little bit like a 1/4 of an inch taller and 1/2 an inch wider. So these are all like non-standard sizes. Telezma, because of the size and the type of cardstock, it's kind of stiff. This one is an overhand shuffler for me. I cannot riffle shuffle it, which is my preferred method of shuffling, whereas the other 3 decks here I can riffle shuffle. One thing to note about the cardstock quality of Ritual Tarot, just as a demonstration, do you see how chipped these edges are? This is after my friend that gave it to me, she said she probably shuffled it maybe 10 times, and then I have shuffled it a handful of times as well in the 24 hours I've had it. This looks like, you know, this deck has been well loved for a decade, right? But it hasn't. So this cardstock is very much disintegrating. Like you can even see little chips of it flying off as you're shuffling, which is very disappointing for a deck that costs $95. However, it is my understanding that there's a second edition of the deck that may already be out. I think it's already out, that might have better cardstock. So this is an older edition. So that may not be applicable. The crumbly cardstock situation might not be applicable to newer versions of the deck. Okay, a little note about collage decks in general. They are just, my experience, they are difficult to read with. So I feel like you kind of need to want to read with a deck like this. It is my personal opinion that a collage deck needs a border. Because it's just, it can be, most people that do collage style decks choose to put a lot of stuff in the imagery. I would say the one that's the least chaotic to look at is Jumbledance. Overall. It's hard to have internal consistency with a collage deck as well, I have found, because, you know, and that makes sense because you're looking for images that you like and you're gathering them from multiple sources and putting them together, and, you know, so it makes sense that like internal consistency might be an issue with a collage deck. But one thing that I think you really need with a collage deck, personally, again, this is my opinion, is a border and titles, which Ritual Tarot does not have. I did try to put the titles on this deck, but none of my markers were working well with it. Plus, most of the images are so busy that, like, where would you put a title? So this one's difficult because sometimes you can't tell what you're looking at and you need to consult the guidebook. Just a note on guidebook quality. These 3 here have small guidebooks that fit in the box with them, and Ritual Tarot has a zine style photocopied, half sheet, like half letter size sheet, guidebook. So as far as production quality, something being worth the price, in my opinion, these 2 are worth the price. Telezma's a little expensive, but it's quality. I think it's quality. It comes with a magnetic closure box. I'm not showing you all the boxes because I don't actually have all the boxes. This one, Ritual Tarot, comes in a tuck box, and these other 3 come in like 2-part boxes. Well, this one's a magnetic closure, so I mean, I guess it doesn't technically have 2 separate parts, but these 2 come in 2-part boxes. This one's magnetic closure, this one's a tuck box. So actual production quality, there were a lot of things that were skimped in the production quality, from what I can tell, with Ritual Tarot. Okay, let's start flipping cards, shall we? 10 minutes in. This is going to be a long one. Okay. And I'm going to, I forgot I was going to do this. I'm going to like actually keep track for myself personally, which is my favorite. I'm going to pick a favorite of each one. For the Fool, for some reason I enjoy that this one's called Fool Child, but the actual composition of the image I think is most successful for me personally with this Telezma card. I like the Telezma again. I mean, like if I were to choose one of these to keep for myself, I would be choosing Telezma. Like I'm already biased because I've been using this deck for over a year now, and I do really like it, despite the fact that it's very difficult to shuffle. But every once in a while, for me, like a deck is, I love it enough that I will adjust to a more difficult shuffling style for me. When usually shuffling, if I can't shuffle a deck the way I want to, it's a deal breaker. I will say, I did not mention this, but Telezma is gilded in gold, shiny gold edges. And let me see if I can, without pulling up the whole stack, kind of show you, like, because of that, can you tell? Like, I just got this version of the deck. I just bought an untrimmed version with my tax return money because I really regretted trimming my original copy. So I just pulled this out of the box a few days ago, and it's very worn on the corners. Like the gilding is worn off on the corners just from sitting in the box for however long. It's just something that happens. It doesn't actually bother me that much, but but I can understand. I just want to be upfront. If you are actually at this video in order to decide between these decks, I want you to know this information. Okay, High Priestess. This one. Which one is my favorite? I actually do really like this ritual, so I'm going to give it to that one. I will say also color scheme wise, you do get the most vibrant variety of colors in these three, whereas it's mostly blue in Ritual Tarot. Also, collage proficiency, as far as like from what I can tell, like as far as composition, the meticulous way in which a person decides to cut out the imagery, Jumbledance and Telezma are the most, like, composition wise, and like I feel like we're looking at artists that know their craft very well. This one, like Voyager, is still good, but with Ritual Tarot, to me it looks like we're seeing someone learning collage in the process, which isn't in and of itself a bad thing. Like, I can tell with looking at Ritual, like, you're seeing the process. I feel like I can be there with the artist as she's making the deck. It feels very impulsive. Okay, I need to pick a favorite. Absolutely, it's Telezma on this one. This is just gonna be, why am I even counting? Because most of the time I'm gonna choose Telezma. I did not like double check with the guidebook when I put Ritual in order this morning, so please forgive me if I got some of these cards wrong, but to the best of my ability, they are what I say they are. To the best of my ability, since I already pressed record, but I'm pretty sure I got all the cards right with Ritual. I spent most of the day, not most of the day, but I spent a lot of time yesterday really memorizing what the different cards were in Ritual when I realized that I could not effectively add titles to them like I wanted to. Yeah. I mean, as you can see, there's a lot going on in all of these decks, which for me, even so, I personally like this is my favorite art style for art. But for tarot, it's difficult, right? Like it's difficult to read with decks like this. And you kind of have to adopt an approach. Many people have said this about different collage decks in the past. You kind of have to adopt an approach of like, whatever your eye is automatically drawn to, focus on that particular element of the card instead of trying to take in the whole thing. Because it can be very overwhelming to look at. Telezma's still my favorite on this one. Okay. It's really the only one of this type of deck. Okay, what I was starting to say before is like, I think I'm realizing that because this style of art is so difficult to work with, I am definitely going to keep Voyager because this is a first edition given to me by a dear friend. I'm definitely going to keep that no matter what. I consider it a historic collage deck, Voyager, because it's been around so long. Since just a couple years after I was born. But I may be letting go of these two. I don't know yet with Jumbledance because I did get it very recently and I do like it, but I'm not sure. Time will tell if I can really successfully use more than one collage style deck, or if I'm just going to reach for Telezma every single time because that's the one that I resonate with the most, you know? I really hate this Hierophant. I just hate it. I like this one. Not super into this one. I do like that one. I don't love any of these, to be honest. I'm going to give this one to Voyager, though. The symbolism in Voyager is actually has more of a system to it than you might think. And there's a lot of guidebooks. Like you can buy like 2 or 3 different like sold separately type of guidebooks, but it also does come with a chunky little guidebook in the box as well. So there's a lot of information out there if you wanted to, if you're the type of person that really enjoys like nerding out on the literature surrounding a tarot deck. Whereas with the rest, this one has a pretty interesting guidebook, Jumbledance. It actually references some of the art that was chosen in the deck, and it references the symbolism directly. So this one's a really nice, effective guidebook. This one, there's so much information that you can find if you want to on this deck. And with Telezma, you get some basic keywords in the guidebook. And with Ritual Tarot, also some basic keywords in all the minor. And you do get a little bit more information with the major arcana. And some of the symbols that were chosen also discussed in the major arcana of Ritual Tarot guidebook. I mean, this is one of my very favorite lovers cards of all time. So, I mean, there's no contest for me on that one. As far as like the source imagery is concerned with each of these decks, you get more of like historical statue vibes with Voyager, Jumbledance, and Ritual Tarot. You do get some of the historical statue vibes in Telezma, but Telezma is feels more grounded in our current reality, which is just my personal preference. It's more pop culture, which I appreciate. I like all of these except this Jumbledance. This Jumbledance is just, it's not doing it for me. But my favorite is Telezma. Oh my God, is this video gonna be like 2 hours long? You know. I decided to put strength at 8 because strength is 8 in both of these, but it's 11 in both of those. So whatever. That's what I did. I put strength at 8. Lady with Ermine is one of my favorite paintings. But I am confused as to what. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna give this one also to Telezma, despite the fact that I don't enjoy the keyword force. I just don't like it. But I am gonna give it to Telezma because I just like that image the best. I mean, this is obviously not objective. Nothing is. I'm also making this video for myself because I know that I'm not going to end up keeping all of these. I think, unless I decide I'm going to force myself to keep both of these newer ones for a few months before I let them go, if I'm going to let them go. But, but I don't know what the rest of that sentence was going to be. Okay, which one of these is my favorite? Again, I'm very biased. Maybe I should just stop telling you guys which is my favorite because, yeah, it's going to be Telezma 9 times out of 10, which is good, you know. It means I have a preference and I'm making, what I started to say, I'm making this also for myself so I can look back at this even if I do decide to let these two or one of these two or both, whatever, go. I have a new rule for myself, though, that if a deck is gifted to me, like Ritual Tarot was, I'm going to be moving it along as a gift instead of like selling it or, you know, anything like that. Giving it to my local metaphysical shop for store credit. Like, I'm going to be gifting it to another human if it is received as a gift. As a rule, I mean, there might be exceptions to that. Like if I try to give it away and no one seems to want it, I'm not gonna fucking hold on to it forever, but you know. Yeah, again, it's Telezma. Yep, Telezma again. Oh my god. Similar color schemes between these two. And also, again, I choose Telezma. I haven't picked Jumbledance yet. There aren't a lot. There are like a handful of cards in Jumbledance that I'm just like really, really into, but we haven't gotten to any of them yet. This death card freaks me the fuck out. I like all of them except Ritual in this case, because that one's just, yeah. But I prefer Telezma. Because we got this little black cat with orange eyes. So it kind of looks like my niblet. Okay, here's where we actually, that is my favorite Temperance. This is one of the cards that, like, when I first saw it on like a flip through, I was like, oh my god, yeah, I'm gonna get this deck. I'm going to. I think that's a beautiful image. I really dislike this Temperance because Temperance is an important card to me. I don't love the Telezma one either. I haven't really had my like epiphany moment with this particular symbolism yet. Both of these are called art. I think I'm gonna give it to Ritual on this one for the devil. I don't love this one, although I get it. I get it, but just as far as like aesthetically, it's just not really, it just doesn't work for me. Okay, I've lost my tower card in Telezma, guys. I was using the deck out in the backyard a couple days ago, and I did not see a card fly away, but I no longer have my tower card in Telezma. So thankfully there are like 2 title cards in Telezma. So I have reached out to the artist to see if like she sends out replacement cards, but if not, I'm just going to be using this title card with the cactus on it for my replacement tower. I was so mad. Like I just noticed it on Wednesday, and it would have been Monday that I lost it if I did lose it outside. So I don't know, it sucks, but I don't have a tower card right now for my Telezma. So this is not a proper comparison here. But I do know that Telezma is my favorite tower card out of these 4, so I'm still gonna mark it. This one's beautiful. We got Kuan Yin. I love this one too, though. I'm going to give this one to Voyager, though, just because it gives me more star vibes from looking at it. Oh, I love this moon card. And this one. It's actually going to be hard to choose a moon card between these 2. Oh man. I think I'll go with Jumbledance, actually. I really, really love this card. Like, the cards in this deck that I love, I fiercely love, but there just aren't enough of them. I think Ritual really suffers from not having titles or borders. I know everybody's like anti-border these days, but I'm not. I love borders. Which of these sun cards do I like? This one's very, I don't know, it just doesn't say sun to me. I mean, there are suns on it, but it does not say sun to me. And just a little pet peeve. The artist for Ritual Tarot tends to put a lot of left eyes over other things. It tends to be a lot of left eyes, I've noticed. And when she chooses to put a left eye on over the right eye or near the right eye, it bothers me. Obviously, that's an extremely personal situation. Telezma wins this one too, although I really like the Voyager Sun. I do not like this one because I am repelled by children imagery. I just am. This is like maybe my least favorite card in Ritual. This Judgment, I do not understand. The only thing symbolism-wise that makes sense to me, well, I mean, I guess there's a bunch of bodies down here. But the only thing that symbolism-wise makes sense to me is the eye at the top. These all have sort of an eye, a light, time, space. I think I'm gonna, I don't really like any of these, but I think I'm gonna give it to Voyager. Oh God, we haven't even got through the majors yet, and we're 30 minutes in. I have not read a lot of the guidebook for Ritual yet, so I know that in the majors there is some explanation for why certain symbolism is in the cards. So I don't know it. I'm just going based on, you know, intuition of looking at it. Nothing about this card says world to me. It doesn't make sense to me as a world card. I think I'm going to go with Telezma on this one. Okay, then we're going with wands. In Voyager, you'll see that all of the minors have keywords, which are very interesting. Like, sometimes they make sense and sometimes they really fucking don't. Illumination makes sense as an Ace of Wands, right? I like all of these. My least favorite is Ritual, although I can appreciate the simplicity. But my favorite is Telezma. Broken record. Maybe I should just point out when my favorite isn't Telezma. And I also like that on Telezma we have the elemental symbols at the top of all the minor arcana cards and the core cards as well. All right. I think it's Telezma. It's Telezma. I really like this Voyager one though, but the color scheme is confusing as wands, you know? It's not very fiery. So the main symbolism, there are particular types of symbolism that are consistent within Voyager Tarot. So you get hands in every wand card, if I remember correctly. I think so. I love the dinosaur. I'm a sucker for dinosaurs. You put dinosaurs in a card and I'm probably gonna love it. Just, you know, this is all like pretty much first impressions anytime I discuss the Ritual Tarot, but it is my first impressions that, like, a lot of the time with the minors, there isn't a lot of symbolic thought put into the composition of the images. You know, like, I only know that this is Four of Wands because there are 4 wands in this card. There are 4 arrows in this card. You know? And I guess it's just, you know, and not, yeah, but this one does speak to 4 of Wands for me. So we've got the 4 candles and they are in a structure. We have these columns. I can see a structured celebration being a part of this image composition, even though it might also feel a little nonsensical on first glance. But again, I've had more time with Telezma as well. Ferret. Oh wait, I didn't pick. Sorry, there's landscaping shit happening outside as per always. Which is my favorite 4? I'm gonna go with Telezma, even though I don't love any of those, honestly. See, I wouldn't use oppression as a keyword for 5 of Wands, just personally. And this one, I can't tell if it's a mistake or if we're supposed to see these 2 here as, if you're supposed to see this as 2, because 1, 2, 3, 4, when it's supposed to be the 5. But I'm guessing because this is like, I don't know. Yeah, I just think it looks like, again, I don't know for sure, but it looks to me that the least time was spent on the creation of Ritual Tarot. And probably the most time was spent on Voyager, is my thought. Because there is a lot of, like, intentional symbolism in Voyager. Okay, I need to pick a favorite. I'm getting distracted because of people talking outside. It's gotta be Telezma because I love the ferret. I love the ferret. Arbitrary, right? But That's the thing with, like, you know, when you're talking about how you feel about tarot imagery, like, it's going to be intensely subjective to each individual person and what type of symbolism they like to see, what type of symbolism they're expecting in particular cards. There's just so many factors, right? She works hard for the money. So hard for it, honey. I don't like this one. Or this one. Like, what? This is giving 3 of Wands vibe. 2 and 3 of Wands vibes, right? Like, no. For a 6, no. Interesting that we have a guitar in both of these. And at first I was like, what the fuck? But I get it now. This is the one acoustic amongst all the electrics. So that's why it stands out. Okay. I actually think I'm going to give my favorite to Jumbledance on 7 of Wands. I appreciate when an 8 of Wands is not just 8 wands flying through the air, because, you know, we're used to that. I mean, I get it when a person does it, but we're used to that. Harmony, what a weird keyword for 8 of Wands. I love that one. Flying on a carpet, like, yes, please. And we actually have 8 little candles down here, which I enjoy. I love seeing candles in collage decks. When we get to the 10 of Wands on Jumbledance, that one's probably going to be my favorite because I just love, there's a bunch of candles and I'm into it. Okay, we got B energy here. Integrity? Okay. And there's this like spinal column here. I mean, it's got to be Telezma. This old white guy outside talking about watching something about Emily Dickinson. Okay. It's just funny. I can appreciate the simplicity of the cards in Ritual that are literally just the elements on a backdrop of nature. Like, it's pretty. It's striking. And it's got more simplicity in it than a collage deck would normally have, which is a complete contrast to, like, any of the, like, let's just compare it to the Fool, right? The Fool has so much fucking happening, and the only thing that says Fool to me is that the fact that there's a dog in this card. And maybe the butterflies kind of make sense too, but it's just like so much happening. There's just so much, which is, you know, the fact that I'm critiquing that when one of my favorites is Telezma. Many of the images in Telezma have a fucking lot going on, but in my opinion, and I know that you don't have to pit these decks up against each other, but that's literally what I'm doing here, so deal with that. But I pick Telezma because I think the composition is better. In like 9 out of 10 times, the composition of the image, even though there's still a lot going on, it's better in Telezma than Ritual. See, look at that. All those candles. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And, you know, also I'm being a little bit harsh. Let's be honest, I'm being a little bit harsh on Ritual because it is such an expensive deck. Like, thankfully, I didn't have to spend anything on mine. But if I had, I would be pissed because of, yeah, anyway, this isn't a review of Ritual because I feel like I would be in trouble for making one of those, so this might be as close as you're gonna get. Okay. Child, girl, princess. So these are all different than Page, obviously. This one's nice, just all these little animals. But I love this one. I also love this one. This one's not bad. This might be my favorite court card, perhaps, in Ritual. I guess we'll see. But Jumbledance wins for me on Page of Wands. Oh, this one's just like, oh God, it's upsetting. That face distortion for me, I can't look at that. That would genuinely upset me if I pulled it into reading. Which obviously is my own thing, right? I like this though. With the bird. Oh wait, do I have this in the wrong spot? No. Okay. We're good. I think. Whatever. Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Jumble in this one. Sorry if the talking outside is distracting for you guys. I think I enjoy it, like when I'm, you know, actually hearing other things happening in the background. And you can always mute, of course. Like, oh my God, 41 minutes already. We're not even through the wands. Okay, cool. Woman of Wands. We do have animal companions in all of these. So we have the black cat here. We have the lizard here. We have a little, is that a cheetah? I think it's a cheetah. I sometimes like get my big cats confused. And we have a black cat here. Okay, I want to show you guys something because I always think of this every time I pull the Queen of Wands from Telezma. I think of this little slice of, I think it's fire agate. See? That has Kali on it. Just a personal little, you know, I just subjectively, like, Telezma just does it for me. When I first got it, I was like holding it in my hands for like days. Did I already? I mean, this one wins because this is just so beautiful. I'm not entirely sure if that's right, but I think it is. I think this is the King of Wands. I'm so sorry if I'm getting that wrong because the guidebook is not near me right now. I don't really love any of these. I'm gonna give it to this one though. I like the little smug looking owl and the fact that we have a hawk and we actually have an older person depicted here. All right, Ace of Cups. I'm gonna just go ahead and shut this window because it is starting to distract me. The opinions of an old white guy. Distracting. No offense if you are an old white guy because, you know, hashtag not all old white guys, right? I mean, it's Telezma. Again, I just love this, like, very refreshing glass of, like, lime water that's happening here. Ecstasy. This one's nice, though. But I feel like you really, really need to be into the color blue to enjoy Ritual Tarot. And I am not that person. Equilibrium. Again, it's Telezma. Oh my God. Little beta fishies. Fishies. Is there fishies in this one? No. Love that one. Yeah, I mean, I'm giving it to Telezma again. Not super in love with. I'm gonna give it to Ritual because I do think this one makes sense as a Four of Cups, and I like the addition of sort of a border here as well. I love that like several cards in Telezma have someone holding one of these Loteria. I think they're called Loteria cards, which I think is really cool. And this one's card 27, which adds up to 9, which is my favorite number. There's a lot happening that makes sense to me in this Five of Cups in Telezma. So yeah, that one for sure. Sorrow for the Six of Cups. Like, come on. What are you doing? What are you doing, James Wanless? What are you doing? I don't like when you are dependent upon a guidebook, like for any reason. So for me, like, I would see the keyword sorrow for Six of Cups, which doesn't compute for the Six of Cups the way that I see it. So, which is fine. You know, that's fine. It's not the only deck I have. But I would feel compelled to go to the guidebook to find an explanation for sorrow, you know? Which we're kind of getting that here with all these jagged lines and broken cups. This Six of Cups is kind of a sorrow moment too. But I do actually, like, even though I don't see the Six of Cups that way, I see the Six of Cups as being like the keyword for Six of Cups for me is pleasure, which you're definitely getting that here. But I can see an argument for like the darker side of Six of Cups, particularly like if you do see it as more of a childhood card, then, and if you didn't have a good childhood, it makes sense if you're seeing that card in a different way. So I'm glad that those cards exist in general, but that keyword would throw me off. Seven of Cups. I think imagery-wise, I might prefer this one. But it's difficult for me to see at a glance that this is Seven of Cups. So for me, that disqualifies it, since there's no title. I'm going to say this one's a wash. I'm not picking a favorite with Seven of Cups. I don't love any of those. Eight of Cups. Stagnation. Okay, so that makes sense. I like this one. This one's just really beautiful, but it's as a like, how is this Eight of Cups? Not sure. I guess because we have, I don't know if these are like little campers or something. And we've got this vast open space. So you could see this as sort of a Vision Quest card. Yeah, okay. Giving it to Telezma again. I feel like I can get there with Telezma. Just looking at it. You never need the guidebook with Telezma. Fulfillment. I kind of like this because it just, I don't love all the little crustaceans and shit, but I love the like aerial view of all of these like ornate like 70s looking glassware. combination. I'm going to give it to Telezma, though, because I can get more from that. Yeah, I'm just like, I don't know, like, obviously, to each their own. So here's a good time to check in. Like, if you're watching this, you've been watching this whole time, 50 fucking minutes. Check in with yourself. Like, how often, what is your eye being drawn to in general? Which of these? Because for me, it's like I'm not even seeing this one, which is just a good indicator that it's not for me. I like this one. But I think my favorite again is Telezma. And these are disqualified because there are children in them. I'm sorry. I know. I'm just not into children. I mean, I get that they have to exist and we've all been children at some point, but they're just... I don't want to see them in my tarot decks. Oh, God. I'm sweaty. I don't know. Not super in love with any of these. Yeah, I'm going to call that one a wash, too. I mean, this is no contest. I'm in love with this Queen of Cups. This was pretty cool, though. I'm into this one. The fact that she has an eye on her hand makes sense to me because I do view the Queen of Cups as being like a seer and a tarot reader. I like, again, just like stating where my bias lies as far as visual imagery is concerned. If I don't like the prominent face that is in a card, I cannot deal. This, if this were my card of the day, and I were like, since I usually put my card of the day in my little stand, like every day, so I look at it throughout the day on my little tarot table. If this were my card of the day, I would have to put the deck away and get out a different one where I liked the King of Cups. Very like, is Poseidon who I'm thinking of here? That this like Poseidon vibes? Titan from Little Mermaid. I like this guy's face though. These people are so happy. I don't know how that's King of Cups necessarily. I mean, I guess they're happy and they're old. I love it. Okay, I'm giving it to Voyager on this one. So in Voyager, crystals are swords. I think I am going to give it to Voyager on this one. Yeah. I like this like plume of smoke happening in the background of this one though. So that's a close second. But I'm going to give it to Voyager. So I am kind of picky about the Two of Swords because it is an important card to me. And I don't love the way any of these are depicted, to be honest. But this one this one looks like it was slapped together in about 5 minutes. And that's upsetting for me. Again, almost all of my opinions based on Ritual Tarot, they're going through the lens of knowing how expensive this thing is, right? Even though I didn't have to pay it, knowing how expensive it is does affect how I feel about it. I can't separate that personally. So yeah, I don't know. But I'll give it to Telezma because I do, at least we have some crossed swords. At least we have some boobs and a fox. And a pretty landscape. I do appreciate that pretty much all of these are not just 3 swords and a heart. Like, you do have 3 swords in a gut. You do have 3 swords in a heart purse. But there's more happening here, you know? This one, it's more, I guess, about, like, communication, writing, reading. I like that this one's creativity, because it's just like, okay, creativity. It's confusing, but it's also so pretty, right? But I am going to give it to Telezma because it's just more cohesive. I mean, you've got a cohesive color scheme. I feel like yeah, there's a lot to love about this image, in my opinion. I'd never noticed this before, which it seems so obvious. Every time I notice something in these cards, it seems so obvious to me. But there's like a person's like chest right here. And this jewel is almost in the place of her head. I had always seen like the hand with the purse, this little guy down here, the leg, this person over here. I'd never noticed that before. How? Because one of the things, being autistic, like one of the reasons why we tend to get very overstimulated is because our brains see one detail at a time instead of synthesizing a whole image together. So I think that's, yeah, I think that's definitely happening here. And why I see new things in the imagery in these types of decks all the time, because I can't see every single thing. Like every time I pull a card, my eye goes to a particular element of that card and it sort of like blocks out all the rest. Which is both why, I guess I didn't choose a favorite here. It's Telezma. It's Telezma. This one bugs me because of the placement of the wings. I don't know, I'm hypercritical in this one. And, you know, it makes sense. It makes sense that I am. But it needs to be stated that I personally am being hypercritical on Ritual. Okay, 5 of Swords. I like the general idea of this one, but I think the execution is not great. So I don't really like any of these a lot. I think Telezma wins, but barely. And it should be pointed out because I think Rose Honey Ritual did a video on this, but I mean, I know she did, but I think she took it down. So if that video no longer exists, I think it should be pointed out. If this is something that would bother you, throughout Ritual Tarot, there's a lot of images like this where you can see a lot of little glue bubbles. And there were a lot of corners cut as far as the way that images are cut out in this deck. just also something that you might not be able to see unless you're really close to the cards. Until you have them in your hands, you might not notice. So I think that is important to point out in case that is something that would be distracting to you. I don't actually mind the glue bubbles. I do mind when things look lazily cut out. Like throughout the deck, you'll get like, there's a lot of like little eyeballs cut out and put over other eyeballs. And it just isn't meticulous. Again, and that is a good thing and a bad thing, because looking at it, it's like you can see how much of an impulsive sort of like messy process it was to create Ritual Tarot. And so there's like an energy to that. But it also, everything being exactly as it is with Ritual Tarot, if it cost, again, I understand, like, people can price things however they want. Don't come at me in the comments for what I'm about to say. I personally, as a consumer of tarot, I would think all production quality involved with Ritual Tarot, I would have been happy to spend $30 to $40 on it. But I don't think it's worth $95. And again, this is one person's opinion. One person's opinion. And this is coming from the perspective of a consumer. What is my personal market value worth of this item that I do like, that I did want? Okay. All right. I feel like I can't say anything about Ritual without people getting very upset, but I'm trying. I gave it to this one, by the way, because I really do like this Six of Swords a lot. Dullness? I don't really like any of these, honestly. So, I'm gonna call that one a wash. This one has a personal association for me. I like this one though. But it's gonna go to Telezma. I don't like this one. Nine of Swords. Narrowness. Birds flying through swords. This one's so upsetting, right? Confronting. I'm going to give it to Voyager on this one, even though I'm not super into any of these. Honestly, this one is difficult for me just because there's not, and this is an issue throughout this deck, there's not a lot of contrast, there's not a lot of color contrast in specific. There's not a lot of color contrast. It's just everything's very blue throughout this deck. Oh, I love this one. I love the colors in this one. This sort of like purple sky that's been, if you look closely, they created these clouds by putting two different skies together and cutting out this pattern. Sorry, I think I was holding it badly. It's so cool how this was created. Like, they took a purple sky and cut out a cloud pattern and put it over like a galaxy sky. It looks so cool. Again, like, just in case this is something that bothers you, all these little glue bubbles, they are throughout, not on every card, but there's a lot of them throughout the deck. I do appreciate the reuse of, like, you'll see this knife in many of the swords cards. Probably the other knives are reused as well. I do appreciate that. Delusion. I'm having a hard time. I think I'm going to give it to this one because I just really appreciate the way that the sky. And I like a Ten of Swords that looks bleak but not hopeless. So I'm going to give it to Jumbledance on this one. I do like the stop, though. Stop! You're about to hit rock bottom, okay? Stop! You gotta stop. Oh my god. Like, why? Okay. It's Telezma. It's Telezma on this one. Don't love any of these, but I'm gonna give it to Voyager. I feel like that there's, like, you know, little feather pen happening there. Queen of Swords. This is an important card to me. This is I see it as a Libra card, and I'm very, very Libra. This was actually my first card pull from Voyager. And I do see this as, I do see the Queen of Swords as a very Kali energy, and I see this particular card as a Kali energy. I love this one though in Jumbledance. This is like one of my favorite cards in this deck. She's got this little ribbon, and I think it's a moth, but it's like a very colorful moth. And I like, I think it's kind of fun. Like, is this John Lennon's head? I don't know, but this is definitely Lana Del Rey. So I do get Kali vibes, not from Lana Del Rey in general, but from this image. And I love the absurdity of, like, putting Lana Del Rey in this deck. It makes no sense, but also I'm here for it. I don't know. So I'm giving this one to Telezma, although these two are close seconds. And this one I am not into at all. Another situation that I feel like this eye here was just, I'm gonna try to not critique it so much because, yeah, y'all are gonna come for me. Y'all are gonna come for me. And I need to just be okay with the fact that y'all are gonna come for me because it's gonna happen. Sage of Crystals, Knower. Not into any of these, but I'm gonna give it to Telezma because I'm a little bit more drawn to that image. I love this. I love the elemental symbols at the top. And it's the way that I think of it too. I think of kings as air. Didn't used to, but I do now. I think that's the Thoth association, elemental associations with court cards. Sound off in the comments if I have them. Oh my god, I can't deny this one. This one's beautiful. There's so much happening, but I love all of it. You got the money, the stack of pancakes, the car, this little cove with a statue in it, this heart in the background. I love all of it. It's kind of I think it's mostly a winter landscape throughout in Voyager for the world / disc / coins. All of these, like, I'm pretty sure it's referred to as Pentacles in the Ritual Tarot Guidebook. So we've got Worlds, Discs, Coins, Pentacles. But yeah, I love this imagery. Sometimes the imagery in Voyager is just so breathtaking, but it doesn't necessarily speak to me of the card, which is a common issue with collage decks, right? You're not always going to get simple, you're usually not going to get simple, straightforward imagery in a collage deck. I do really like this one. Just like these two, like, cowboy dudes drinking coffee at a campsite. One of them has wings. Like, they're soulmates. I see them as soulmates. And it makes me happy every time I see that card. So I am going to give this one to Telezma again. I think this one's pretty striking. I'll give this one to Ritual. Bread. Bread. As far as being an effective representation of the symbolism, the way that I see the Four of Pentacles, Telezma wins. Here. God, it's so hard to, like, I mean, you get, like, overwhelming, overstimulating symbolism in collage decks in general, but, like, then you're trying to look at four of them at once. Are you guys okay? Hopefully you paused and took breaks during this video. I really like this one. And this one is confronting. I mean, you've got these, like, the starving livestock happening here. This traffic jam. This one's really confronting. Possibly the most dismal looking card in Telezma. And I do think it's effective. So I am going to give it to Telezma. But I do really like this Jumbledance one. And this Ritual Tarot one is just like, it's nothing. It's just, I don't see any symbolism here. Sorry if that looked terrible. I was looking at it in person, not seeing what it looked like when I picked the card up in the viewfinder. Sorry about that. I do like the hand here. Not into really any of these, but I think Ritual gets it because it, to me, is recognizable as a Six of Pentacles. Seven of Pentacles, kind of an important one for me. I feel like I'm always in a Seven of Pentacles space. I think I'm going to give this one to Ritual too, because I don't know, am I though? I mean, okay, so I enjoy the simplicity of this image, but from sort of an artistic standpoint, the thing with collage, if you choose that as your art medium, it's important that because you're using source imagery that is someone else's photography, someone else's art, it's important that you change it significantly, that it not look like the original piece, because then you're just stealing someone's art, right? And the tricky thing with, like, imagery that's really simple in a collage deck might be more visually appealing, but the simpler it is, the more likely you're in a space that might be ethically tricky. I'll just say it that way. I'm going to give this one to Telezma, because why not? Why am I even counting at this point? I love that these two images, they just look so similar to me, like color scheme wise, thematically. This is, I've pulled this card from Ritual several times in the like 24 hours I've had this deck. Several times. I'm not sure if it's trying to tell me you're gonna have to work to understand me, or if it's saying this is too much work, let me go. I don't know which it is yet. I'm gonna give it to Telezma. Oh, I love this one with the little squirrel. This was my card of the month. I think the month that I got Telezma, or the month after, or something like that. And so it was sitting in my little card stand for like an entire month, and I did not get tired of looking at it, which is very weird for me. Even though it doesn't have a bird in it, like I prefer, I really do prefer to see a bird in Nine of Pentacles, but we don't have it in any of these decks, do we? This is just, I just think this is a hot mess. Again, totally subjective. Yeah, there's not a bird in any of these cards. There's some squirrels and chipmunks. Anyway, I could add a bird if I wanted to, but I didn't. The point is, like, this was sitting in my card stand staring at me for a month, and I didn't get tired of looking at it. That doesn't happen to me. I get tired of looking at imagery really quickly, which is one of the reasons why I have so many fucking decks. I really like this one. Yeah, I'm gonna give this one to Jumbledance. Jumbledance, Jumbledance. I appreciate the addition of horns in these too. This one's also just so sweet. I don't always hate children. See? I'm going to, I don't know, it's kind of a tie between these two actually. Knight of Pentacles. I'm a little sad that he doesn't get to have a head. I'm gonna give this one to Jumbledance because yeah, see, I don't always hate kids. He's a child, but he looks happy. He looks sweet. Even though he's in a sports ball uniform, which is another thing I don't like, is sports ball. But baseball imagery is a bit different for me because I do associate it with my grandpa, who is, you know, whatever, old white guy, has his old white guy issues, but I still love him. Queen of Pentacles. I mean, I just have to applaud the, like, you know, use of an image likely from Playboy. Just something about that. It feels like a reclamation to me, you know. I don't know for sure, but female presenting, at least. Tara Cochran, who made Telezma, is female presenting. And if they identify as a woman creating, using a fucking Playboy, using someone with fake tits, obviously, in her Queen of Pentacles. Like, I don't know, there's something about that just, like, really resonates with me. I don't know how to articulate it, but I know that if I ever do create a collage tarot deck, which is just sort of a lofty way in the future goal of mine, I will be making imagery like this. I will be using sources such as Playboy and things like that. Yeah, that is kind of my art style. It's like the dichotomy of like monstrous feminine, you know, like it would be a lot of villainous women, a lot of like beautiful women with blood dripping down their faces. You know, it would be different than any of these decks are, but the use of this particular source image in the Queen of Pentacles, I don't love looking at it, but I love what it represents to me. I wish I could explain that better. Okay, last card. King of Pentacles. I like this one the best. For sure. Okay. So, let's flip these over so you can just see the backings. I mean, let's give a point for favorite back, too. Again, it is Telezma, because I want to give Telezma more points, apparently. Yeah. So, okay. There you go. I feel like I had a final thought here a second ago, and I don't remember what it was. So, we will just stop, because this is a long-ass video. If you made it this far, really cool. Thank you for watching.